Rain on and off the last few days, which I'm not mad about. It means you don't get a lot of work done, but the ground is getting really nicely hydrated. Nothing so significant that we're getting mass amounts of water loaded into our dams. Part of that is the setup of this property and how water flows over it. So whenever we get a few days of rain, the first few days go into the ground, but that's going to be awesome come summertime when we're basically going to be loaded with feed. And we're getting ready to go to the next level with livestock. In fact, in this video, I'm going to take you up to where I think our first paddocks are going to be set up because we need to start preparing for fencing. Let me give you a quick update on this little pump house, powerhouse that we built in the last video. I'm really happy with how it's working. So I started burying the line. Gosh, I wish I had a little mini excavator. That'd be like a 10-minute job, but that's okay. Trenching shovel works nicely, especially after rain. So there's only like 20 meters to do there. And then that tucks that away really nicely and neatly. Let me show you what's going on down here. So this has worked out perfectly. Not only is my battery still over 50%, so we installed this about 3 days ago, battery was at 50%. We've had a run of crappy cloudy days, and despite running the pump on a timer for 2 hours a day so that we're pumping up more than our daily use because our tanks were at about 60%, we are still not tapping into our battery power here. So once we get some sunny days, that's just going to keep climbing and I never see it going down. Now, a lot of you said, don't put the pump in the same shelter as the electronics. That's probably smart. Look, I think the chances of springing a leak are next to zero, but it's not zero, so that's a little bit of wisdom. We'll just give it its own little shelter. I'll block it up on a couple of concrete blocks, put a little bit of coral over it. It's an outdoor unit. That's more than enough. The other thing that some of you guys suggested was, what about heat? Will it get overheated in here? Look, it's got shut-off sensors in it, so I'm not hugely worried about that, but good call. Maybe we cut some ventilation holes in under the back of the roof there where it won't get water in, or hey, it's a power unit. Maybe I just hook a little exhaust fan up to it. I think that might be smart too. But overall, pretty happy with this as our permanent water supply solution. I basically haven't come down here in 3 days and the tanks are continuing to fill up. Got that noisy generator running in the background. I hope that's not too distracting. It's a real cloudy day, a day like today. I'll be running 2 or 3 hours just to get us to where we need so that our batteries last us through the night. So about 2 litres an hour. It's just the cost of off-grid living. All right, right now I am just above our gardens. So it goes dams, gardens, water tanks, and I want to take you up beyond the water tanks to show you we've got a 17-acre area up there that we've had our eye on for a while now. So speaking weather, rain, pasture, fencing, mud, all of the things that are kind of impacting us right now, we've got some upgrade ideas I want to show you. So this is what I've been working on the last couple of days, is just mapping out not only where our paddocks are going to go in this entire 17-acre plot that we've got across the eastern side of our boundary that goes to our main road, but where are we going to put access? And so what we decided was, not only will we divide this up with an internal fence, but let's divide it up with another little access road. And that's going to solve a number of problems. Like, number one, we've got an internal driveway, but it's going to be a long loop around to get back up in here. And there are still a couple of little issues with that driveway accumulating water in a few spots. Like, we started fixing it, it's doing okay. And so having a secondary access is just a smart idea, not only to reduce traffic and to have a backup way to get out of the property, but the main reason I want access here is this entire area is going to be the central hub of all our farming operations. If you watched our homestead master plan video from a few months ago, we've basically got, actually I'll turn the camera around and I'll show you. Water tanks right there. That'll be our main farm and feed store shed there. Chickens are set up there. Solar and all of its set up and shed is there. And so it kind of makes sense to do cattle yards somewhere up close to all of that as well. And so what another point of access gives us is a way to get livestock on and off the property a whole lot easier than if we had to come in and around the long way. And actually there's an old set of timber cattle yards way down the corner of the property, but to get there you've got to take the entire length of our main road, our public road, and it's a really crappy road. So to do a point here where the cattle truck can pull in, we might even do the yards up closer to the road just in case this ends up a bit hard to navigate as well. The main thing I'm considering here right now is just doing it temporary until we're sure. Like, even internal fencing, I'll just do electric fencing internally until we're sure. And we'll probably find that this is a bit of a dirt sand base underneath all this grass, because that's what's going on over in our main driveway. And I've tried as much as possible to plan the slope of this driveway so that it's across contour rather than cutting directly perpendicular across the contours. Because when you cut directly perpendicular, in other words, when you flow straight downhill, you basically turn your driveway into a little river. And when you go across it that way, well, that's ideal because the water distributes evenly into your driveway, but then you've got to provide drainage points for it to hop across your driveway and continue on. So I've split the difference, and as much as possible, we've done basically like a 45 to the contour. And I think that's going to be the easiest for designing drainage. But before we even get to that point, because this will be a massive expense, once we formalize it, it's like 300 meters long, it'll be kind of 3 meters wide. You want about 100 mil of road base on there. That's a few truckloads of material. It's a costly exercise to get wrong. So we'll test it and trial it over a period of months. And what I really need though is, if I've got any of this a little bit wrong and any of it turns a bit soggy and boggy, like what happens in a couple of spots on our main driveway, I need a temporary fix solution, and I've got a DIY idea for that, a way to harvest a bit of gravel off our own property, like not any meaningful amount, we're not talking tons of it, but enough to be useful. So let's go check it out. So I've had this idea ever since I built our compost tumbler or compost sifter. This is an awesome machine for getting fine compost, but I think we could use it for other materials as well. In fact, I know we can, because when we built our outdoor shower, we used gravel that we found on the property, and all I did was set up a basic sheet of mesh as a screen and threw shovel loads of it at the mesh, and then what collected at the bottom was this really nice gravel that I used in our whole outdoor bathroom area. But I think we can do that at a bigger scale with this, and I've spotted a few areas where there's quite a bit of gravel mixed in with the dirt that the pigs have exposed actually. So yeah, a lot of this ground that the pigs have been tilling up for us has all of this sort of gravel throughout it. It's kind of patchy, but every now and then you get to a spot like just down here. Now, because it's a mound, here's what's happened. Every time it rains, the lighter materials, the clays and the sands are being flushed out of it, and it looks like I've got an entire mound of gravel. I don't expect that to be the case, but it's giving me a fair idea of just how much stony, gravelly material is in here. So I am really keen to see what we can get out of it. Yeah, sure, there's gravel in there, but it's not like it's infused with like 1 to 2 part gravel dirt. But hey, if it does work, free gravel. So remember last week when I built that leveling rig for the ride-on lawnmower, and I said I was surprised because about 50% of my homestead hacks are usually fails? I think this one's going in the fail category. Look, we got 5 good shovel loads of usable gravel out of 20 of raw materials. So as far as the gravel being in the ground, yes, but the recovery time was just way too long. That took me nearly half an hour to process. If I was desperate and I needed, you know, a wheelbarrow load of gravel to fix a problem, I suppose, but I think it'd be better off just keeping a supply of gravel on site, and it's just going to work out easier to buy it in. Look, I include this segment in the video rather than just edit out this fail, because I want to be honest about the fact that in homesteading, DIY and hacks, they're part of the territory. I mean, literally, you're far from town, far from conveniences, and you can't throw money at everything. So it is part of the journey, but you've also got to be honest about it. My brother has this saying, the poor man pays twice. And I've definitely experienced that myself, like buying an old piece of machinery thinking I could fix it up, or buying a cheap Chinese knockoff. One year we bought these cheap Chinese incubators, and I just lost so much time and effort trying to raise chickens that year. So as long as you're being honest, if I had built this machine just as a gravel trommel, I'd be pretty disappointed right now. As far as a compost sifter and a wood chip sifter, which is what we use it for, it's perfect. It has a place on our homestead, but you've got to be honest, and sometimes you've just got to do what everyone else does. Sure, try, give it a go, DIY, hack stuff, but at the end of the day, weigh it up honestly And I think I just need to buy a trailer load of gravel. All right, I'm definitely keen to head back up to our new paddock plan and start kind of mapping out some fencing. But before we do that, I want to get a bit of a garden update from Kirsty, and I'm going to give you a hand because we've got a few things that we need to do in here, including, exciting, planting some stuff out that's been going in the greenhouse, right?
Yeah, I've got to make room for the spring stuff that I want to plant, so I've got to take what's in there now.
Well, we've definitely got spaces in these beds.
I've been working on the beds for the past few weeks, topping them with compost, resting them after that.
Fixing those pH issues that we discovered a few videos ago.
So there's like the top of the garden is full of stuff that we're harvesting now, and the bottom part of the garden is ready for all of those direct seeding spring things that I think we're pretty much good to go with. Here's a really good example of knowing when your soil blocks are ready to plant out. So we'll just take that, make a little hole, pop it straight in and let it continue to grow. So I've got spinach, mustard, lettuce, celery that needs to go in. Look, see how tiny these seedlings are, but ready to go. I'm going to put cos lettuce, I've got like 20, and all of the spinach around these peas. It's a really big bed. They'll go super well, but what the peas will do is it'll provide a bit of protection from the sun as it gets hotter now. Another thing I have to do is I have to start harvesting all of this broccoli. And it doesn't look like a traditional broccoli head, but I don't care because I actually prefer broccoli this way anyway. I can even eat it all the way down. Like I eat all of these bits. And see these shoots here? They're my favorite. But before I do that, here is my reminder to you to choose which of your plants are going to be your seed-saving plants and just let them go. In this bed, I have got my broccoli. So this is going to provide me all the broccoli seeds that I need for next year. Just got to let it go to flower, then go to seed. The bees are absolutely loving it. And also in this bed, I have got my one lone little carrot. I've harvested all the rest of them. We had them for dinner the other night, but this one is going to be my seed one. So take 5 minutes now, go out into your garden and put a ribbon around it, whatever you need to do. Do not harvest these, they're for my seeds. Leave the bottom ones.
The bottom one?
They're for seeds.
Oh, you mean anything down here?
Yeah.
Okay. Kirsty has rules. Those are seeds.
Those are seeds.
Those are snacks.
Okay, fail of winter is frost. We've just had another one this week, which has been 4 for the year, and the potatoes just got smashed. So we planted them too late. A lot of them have bounced back, but now they're just kind of like, they're just all dying off, which means the potatoes aren't actually going to be growing anymore. Once the pigs have moved, we're actually going to take all of these potatoes, or most of these potatoes, they're going to be our seed crop, and we're going to plant them straight into big rows like a crop. Like, not mad.
truth. 12.
12.
Okay, so for Dutch
No,
creams,
that's 11.
oh, because that's a kilo.
Wait,
11 kilos.
double check.
Yeah, yeah. 0. Yeah, 11.8. So take off that's 11.
So 11 kilos. That's not terrible.
Well, for this variety of potatoes, we should be like, amazing would be 2 kilos a plant. That'd be epic. A kilo a plant, and we planted 50.
Not a total fail because we didn't lose, like we can replant from this. It's
Oh,
not going to
well,
cost us any money.
We've
It's
ended
just
up
going to
with
cost
way
us
more
time.
potatoes than what we started with. You know, there's more than 50 potatoes there.
The beds that we put them in had a bit of clay at the bottom.
A lot, yeah. Yeah, real gluggy. So we've got to work on that structure. And to be honest, I would start potatoes from anything about that small. So we're not calling that a successful harvest, but we've got all the seed potatoes we need to get a spring lot started. And we now know in order to get 2 lots in, we'd do September
now
to end of the year. And then we'd do like just after the real heat.
March.
Maybe March at the latest. And
early March.
And we'd get a second lot.
Not a win, not a loss.
A learning experience.
A whole lot of learning.
So next step up here for planning out these paddocks and this driveway access is we basically got to figure out where everything goes. I've done a string line for the driveway, and that was mainly I just wanted to make sure we got a nice straight line. So we can measure that. We've got measuring wheel, but I also want to string line this fence up here. The fence is probably in the right location, and honestly, it's at the boundary that we don't share with a neighbour. We share it with a road that really no one else uses. So I don't think anyone's going to dispute it if I'm off by a little bit. And all I'll do is I'll just use these existing fence posts. But I want to run a string line because I want to know what's in the way. Like the first job up here is going to be, let's get the whippersnipper out. We'll cut through, we'll see what we've got. I definitely know none of this fence is salvageable. I'll show you. It's all pretty old. I would say these were probably ironbark split posts because that's mainly what we've got on site. That gives you an indication on just how old this fence is. And the other indication, look at this barbed wire. I mean, honestly, I can just kind of bend it by hand and it, here we go. Yeah, it just snaps. So none of this is reusable. It's all got to get taken down. So my string line is going to give me basically how much work I need to get done. And I've measured this on Google Earth. I'm happy with that as a measurement. That's going to tell me how much barbed wire I need to buy. And then that's just 2 of the fences, boundary fence and what's on that access road. Then there's the other 2 that make up the square. And because we're doing an access road down the middle of this block, there's actually another 2 as well. So we've got to measure all of that up. That's going to give us our fences. Look, this project's going to take a while, but once it's done, we're going to have this beautiful grazing land. I'm super excited about it. What I'm not sure about, and I've got plenty of years grazing experience doing beef and dairy cattle, I'm not sure how to evaluate pasture here. I learned all my grazing in the Northern Rivers where it was like green grass all year round up to your waist. That's maybe a bit of an exaggeration, but it was easy. Out here, I've got a method, and I want to teach you this method. If you're thinking about grazing on your homestead, your small holding, I'm going to show you how you can evaluate just how much feed your property is going to supply. So I am super stoked with the density of feed that we've got here, but I don't know this feed material. What I do know is a tool that you can use to work out exactly how many kilos or tons of material you've got on your property. But you can't cheat here, you've got to be honest. So one of the things I'm going to have to be honest about is, yep, all of these open spaces are really nicely, densely growing with whatever these local native grasses are. It'll be Queensland blue and a bunch of other stuff. But under all these treed sections and where it's bushy and scrubby and there's cactus and all sorts of other stuff in the road, the score is going to go down. So you're going to need scales, little bucket, tape measure, and a pair of scissors. Yep, we're going to cut grass by hand. All right, because I'm out here string lining anyway, I also happen to have pegs and string. You don't really need that, but let's be super accurate. I've got an edge already from when we whippersnipped this, this access road that we're planning. So you guys that keep cattle in regions that are a bit more like this, like temperate, semi-arid. Tell me what's a good breed. We did a small herd of about a dozen Jersey cows. I do love Jersey milk, and so I'd probably do a couple of those again. I definitely wouldn't do a Jersey bull again. Anyone who's ever raised one knows that I got about 6 years of bull experience by raising that mongrel for 18 months. I shouldn't say that. Kirsty loved him. Melvin. We do miss Melvin a little bit. So I would do Jersey cows again, maybe just 2, just as milkers. We did a number of breeds for beef. We had about a little herd of maybe 30, 40. 40 was probably the most we ever kept. We did Herefords, we did Big Reds. The main breed that we did, because it was tourism as well and we were looking for temperament, were Dexters. So now we cut. Now, don't cut right down to the ground. Cows don't have top teeth, so they don't chew right down to the ground like sheep do. Leave about 1 centimetre. So I actually think the Dexter could be like an ideal homestead breed. They're really gentle, they're small, so you don't get kind of commercial levels of beef from them, but that's not what you want on a homestead. And they're just so gentle-natured. I'll probably do Dexters again, unless some of you say, gosh, don't do Dexters in a dry climate because X, Y, Z, but I don't know. I did Dexters for 7 years. I think I'm gonna go with what I know. But you guys that are homesteading in drier climates especially, tell me what you think. And so once you've got this score, you never need to do this again, so you're not going to be out here all the time, but you're also going to come up with maybe a few different scores. This is really important to do when your grass is dry. So what we're working out is kilograms of dry matter per hectare. Now this is an ideal time of year to do this. There's essentially no green grass in here. I mean, I could dry it out for a little bit longer just to be 100% sure, but honestly, I'm going to take it as it is right now. So if you were doing this in the growing season, you would have to cut this and dry it out in order for it to be accurate, because all of your feed tables that we're going to look up next are going to tell you your feed requirements for your different animals based on dry matter. So this stuff. Okay, next 2 steps. We've got to weigh this grass, and so I need a hard flat surface for those scales to be really accurate. So let's head back down to the tiny home to do that. And then we need to know what our feed requirements are. Now there are feed lookup tables you can use, but honestly, I'm going to show you how I'm going to use AI to work out the size of the herd that I plan to keep here and whether or not we're going to be able to feed them. While we're heading down there, I want to put something to you. We've produced a number of these tools and resources, like literally this tool. And last year we made a equipment checklist for starting your own small-scale hatchery. This year we've put out an intro to homestead pigs as a download document, and then a course which a number of you have expressed interest in. I'm just a little worried that unless you watch the video, you often miss that stuff. And so we've been using forms and our website and that sort of thing to get some of this material to you. But I know that a lot of you are missing out. Now we do have our Patreon page. It's a few dollars a month and it does support the channel, but it's not for everybody. But patrons do get everything and more. They get behind the scenes stuff and kind of direct messaging with us and that. If that's something you would be interested in, there's a link in the description down below. You could become one of our patrons. The membership's nice and easy, and it is only a few dollars a month. But a lot of these resources I want to make more broadly available and freely available. There's a lot of you that could benefit from this. Between Kirsty and I, we've got a couple of decades worth of small scale farming and homesteading experience, and I've got a teaching background. So of course we're going to produce materials like this on the regular. And I just want to make sure that it doesn't go to waste, that it gets to the most amount of people that it's useful. So I think we're going to start an email list. No, we're going to start an email list. Now, number one, we're not going to spam you. I don't have time to write a weekly newsletter. I mean, unless you guys harass and bug me for it, that's not what that's going to be about. But I do want to make sure that for those of you that are interested in kind of the important updates and the resources that we create, that you've got a way that we can communicate that to you on the regular. So QR code on the screen there, link down in the description, sign up to our email list, and that way you won't miss out on any of it. And hey, if it's not for you, unsubscribe. All right, let's go weigh some grass. Okay, let's do this as an exercise. So I've got my scales. I know it's a metre square. It's 10,000 square metres in a hectare. And I know that I've got a let's just call it 7 hectare plot up there. All right, bucket zeroed. Oh, wow. Okay, 300 grams of dry grass matter in a metre square. Now, here's where I'm going to use AI to do all the rest of the work. I mean, honestly, the first calculation is pretty easy. 300 grams is going to be 3,000 kilos per hectare, or 3 tons per hectare. So that just scales up because we're using grams and square meters, kilos, and 10,000 square meters. That's the easy part. Now let's work out how much we can actually feed. And I'm gonna do this in voice mode, so I hope this kind of works. So I'm doing some pasture feed calculations, and I want to work out whether or not the plot of land I've got can support the herd that I'm thinking of. So it's a 7 hectare plot of land, and I just weighed 1 square meter of cut dry grass. It's fully matured grass that's been grown all winter, and I got 300 grams out of that square meter. So let's start by figuring out how much feed we've got.
Quick math, 7 hectares is 70,000 square meters. So 300 grams times 70,000 square meters is 21,000 kilograms of feed.
Okay, but I think I want to factor in that a large portion of the landscape is heavily treed. There's a lot of scrub and material in there. That means that the condition overall is not going to be as good as what I just measured. So let's say it's at about 60%.
Got it. So if we adjust that total by about 60%, you're looking at roughly 12,600 kilograms of usable feed instead of the full 21,000. That gives us a more realistic baseline to work with.
Okay, next thing I want to work out is how many head of cattle I can support. So it's only going to be a small herd, and here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to do Dexter cows, so there's going to be 1 adult Dexter bull. There'll be 4 adult Dexter cows. Each of the cows, let's say, has a 1-year-old calf with it. And then for milk, I want 2 adult Jersey cows, and each of them are going to have a 1-year-old calf with them as well. So what's their feed requirement? And then tell me how many days we can support them based on that previous calculation.
So roughly speaking, a Dexter cow or a bull might need about 2% of their body weight in dry matter per day. If your Dexter bull is around 500 kilograms, that's about 10 kilograms per day. Each Dexter cow at 300 kilograms needs about 6 kilograms per day. Calves at 150 kilograms need about 3 kilograms a day. Jerseys are a bit bigger, so we'll say about 8 kilograms for the adults and 3 kilograms for their calves. Add all that up and you're looking at around 62 kilograms of feed per day for the whole herd. Divide your 12,600 kilograms by that and you've got about 200 days of feed.
So that's pretty cool. Straight away, it's given me what my feed requirements are for the herd size I was thinking, what the total feed is that I'm going to get off that plot of land, and basically I can use all of that to work out how many days I can support that herd for. Now, what it hasn't accounted for that I probably could have walked it through as well is regrowth. Like I would be feeding now, that'd be the start because we've done all the growing through the cold season to this fully mature grass here, but it's going to regrow as well. So maybe halfway through summer, I get 1 regrowth, and I might even get 1 more, but I'm not even going to count on that because 200 days, if I get 1 regrowth, that's 400 days or more than the year. So I can definitely support that little herd on that plot of land as long as my grass regrows at least once. Now, I had to kind of account for the fact that the plot that I took this from was really good quality. It was densely packed, it was out in the open, it was getting the most amount of sunshine, it's probably got reasonable soil there. That's not what the entire landscape looks like. There's a lot of trees, there's a lot of scrub, and so I worked on about 60%. That was an estimate. If I wanted to be way more accurate, then I could probably take some samples from where it's heavily treed, where it's really scrubby, and kind of work out a better calculation from that. But I think that estimate's going to work. The ways that I can improve that, I can obviously go more land. We could do that, but that means more fencing. We've got more land that we could use. I could go a smaller herd if I wanted to, but it sounds like I'm not going to have to. But the number one way that we're going to improve this, yes, we're going to do a little bit of scrub clearing. That's going to let more light in. But the way we're going to improve our soil is through regenerative grazing. So we're going to do a quick turnaround grazing or a strip grazing method. If you've followed the work of Joel Salatin, Justin Rhodes, some of those guys, they will walk you through how to do this. I've done this in the Northern Rivers where it was easy to grow grass, and even then we got so much more productivity out of doing short periods of time and then moving them on. that cattle activity on the ground, all that stimulation, and not letting them overgraze or over compact the soil is the key to this. So yeah, we might only be getting 300 grams per square meter now in its kind of native state. I wouldn't be surprised if we can get that to 1.5, 2 times that value over the next few years. So there you go. I hope you found that really helpful. If you're thinking about cattle, if you've got cattle and you've always been wondering how long you can graze them for, that's a nice, simple, easy way to do the calculations. And as you learn your landscape, like I'm learning right now, you won't have to cut grass with scissors anymore. You'll just be able to take a look at it and do some estimates, and you'll work out exactly what you've got and how many days it's going to last. Hey, until next video, see you next time.